The mood on the Dorai flagship was tense. Admiral Do Hyun had never failed in a conquest before, and he wasn't about to start now. He gathered his top officers in the command room. "The humans are more complex than we thought," he told them. "But they are still primitives compared to us. We will adapt our strategy." Commander Sun looked worried. "Sir, if 30% of humans are immune to the subjugator, we may need to consider military options." General Kang, the head of the Dorai military forces, nodded in agreement. "My troops are ready, Admiral. One word from you and we can begin landing operations." Do Hyun held up his hand. "No. A military conquest would damage the resources and infrastructure we want to claim. It would also alert other nearby systems that the subjugator has limitations." He turned to Chief Scientist Min. "Have you identified what makes some humans immune?" Min nodded. "Yes, Admiral. It appears that humans who grew up in areas with high natural electromagnetic fields have developed a type of neural shielding. Their brains simply ignore our signals. Can we modify the subjugator to overcome this shielding?" Min hesitated. "Possibly, but it would take time. Weeks, perhaps months." Do Hyun frowned. They didn't have months. "What if we increase the power beyond safe levels?" "Sir," Min looked alarmed. "That could cause permanent brain damage to the non-immune humans." "Would it work on the immune ones?" "It might break through their natural defenses, yes." Do Hyun made his decision. "Prepare the subjugator for maximum power output. At our meeting today, we will secure Earth's leadership once and for all." As his officers left to carry out his orders, Do Hyun stared at the images of Captain Ji-won and Dr. Yuna on his screen. These two humans had somehow seen through the Dorai's plan. They were dangerous. "Lieutenant Jin," he called. A young officer appeared at his side. "Yes, Admiral. Send a team to find these two humans before the meeting. I want them neutralized." In the shielded basement room, Ji-won, Yuna, and their team of immune humans worked frantically. They had less than 2 hours before the Dorai would meet with Earth's leaders again. "The device is almost ready," Yuna said, making final adjustments to a contraption that looked like a larger version of the Dorai's mind control device. "But I'm still not sure if it will work." Ji-won looked over her shoulder. "Explain the plan again." Yuna pointed to the various parts of the device. "The Dorai technology sends signals that affect specific brain patterns. I've modified this to do the opposite. It will detect those signals and send out counterwaves that disrupt them. Like noise-canceling headphones, but for mind control," said Han, one of their new team members who worked in audio engineering. "Exactly," Yuna agreed. "But there's a second function too." She pointed to another part of the device. "This will record the exact pattern of the Dorai signal and then play it back at them." Ji-won's eyes widened. "You're going to try to control them with their own technology?" "I don't know if it will control them," Yuna admitted. "Their brains might be different from ours, but at the very least it should disrupt their concentration and show them we're not helpless." A young woman named Sue rushed into the room, her face pale. "We have a problem. There are men in black uniforms searching the building. I think they're looking for us." Ji-won tensed. "The Dorai must have sent them." He turned to the group. "We need to move now. Grab the device and anything essential. We have a backup location 3 blocks away." As they quickly packed up, a loud bang came from the door. Someone was trying to break in. "They found us," Han whispered. Ji-won looked around the room and made a quick decision. "Yuna, take half the team and the device to the backup location. The rest of us will create a diversion." Yuna looked worried. "Ji-won, that's too dangerous. We don't have a choice. The device has to reach the UN meeting or Earth is lost." The banging on the door grew louder. "Go now," Ji-won urged. "Through the maintenance tunnel we found earlier." Yuna nodded reluctantly. She and 9 others carefully picked up the counter device and carried it toward a small door at the back of the room that led to the building's maintenance tunnels. Just as they disappeared through the door, the main entrance burst open. 4 men with strange-looking weapons rushed in. They looked human but had the same slightly purple skin as the Dorai. "Where is the device?" one of them demanded. Ji-won stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "What device? We're just having a meeting here." The leader of the group pointed his weapon at Ji-won. "Captain Ji-won, you will come with us now." Admiral Do-hyun wishes to speak with you. Ji-won glanced at his remaining team members, giving them a subtle signal to be ready. I'm afraid I'm busy right now. Perhaps we could schedule something for next week? The Dorai soldier did not appreciate the joke. He moved closer, weapon still pointed at Ji-won's chest. This is not a request. In one quick motion, Ji-won grabbed the barrel of the weapon and pushed it aside. The other immune humans sprang into action, jumping on the surprised Dorai soldiers. The fight was brief but intense. The Dorai were stronger than they looked, but they weren't expecting such fierce resistance. Within minutes, the 4 soldiers were tied up with computer cables. That won't hold them for long, said Park, one of the team members who had a cut on his forehead. And there are probably more outside. Then we need to keep moving and draw them away from Yuna's group, Ji-won said. He picked up one of the Dorai weapons. It was lighter than it looked and hummed softly in his hand. Let's go. Yuna's group moved quickly through the dark maintenance tunnels beneath the building. The counter device was heavy and awkward, but they managed to carry it together. How much farther? Asked Lee, a physicist who was helping to carry the device. 2 more blocks, Yuna replied. The exit should put us just behind the UN building. They continued in silence, the only sound their footsteps and heavy breathing. When they finally reached the exit, Sue went first to check if it was safe. She came back looking worried. There are Dorai soldiers outside the UN building. They're checking everyone going in. Yuna looked at her watch. The meeting would start in 30 minutes. We need a distraction. As if on cue, they heard sirens in the distance. Through a grate in the ceiling, they could see emergency vehicles racing toward the building they had just left. G1, Yuna whispered. He was creating the diversion they needed. Now's our chance, she told the group. While they're looking that way, we'll go through the service entrance. They emerged from the tunnel and hurried across the street, carrying the counter device between them. Most of the guards had indeed moved toward the commotion Ji-won was causing. They managed to reach the service entrance of the UN building. One of their group, Kim, worked in the building and had an access card. Once we're inside, we need to get to the main conference room, Yuna said. We'll have only one chance to make this work. As they moved through the building's service corridors, Yuna wondered if Ji-won was safe. But she pushed the thought aside. Right now, the fate of the entire planet depended on them getting the counter device to that meeting before the Dorai activated their subjugator at full power. Captain Ji-won of the Earth Defense Force couldn't believe the news. After years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, aliens had finally made contact. Real aliens from a place called the Dorai Empire. Captain, you need to see this, said Lieutenant Tae, rushing into Ji-won's office with a tablet in his hand. Ji-won took the tablet and watched the video message from the aliens again. They looked almost human, except for their slightly purple skin and completely black eyes. We come in peace from the Dorai Empire, said the alien on the screen. We wish to meet with your leaders to establish friendly relations. Have they sent anything else? Ji-won asked. Just coordinates for their fleet position behind Neptune and a request to meet at the United Nations headquarters in 3 days, Tae replied. Ji-won ran a hand through his short black hair. As head of Earth's small space defense program, he would be part of the team meeting these aliens. The thought made his stomach tight with both excitement and worry. What do we know about them? He asked. Almost nothing, Tae admitted. They say they come from an empire with 17 star systems, but we have no way to verify that. And they just happened to find us? Out of all the stars in the galaxy? Tae shrugged. They claim they detected our radio signals and came to investigate. Ji-won wasn't completely convinced. Something felt off about the whole situation, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. Still, this was the moment humanity had been waiting for. First contact with an alien civilization. Tell the team to prepare. I want full security scans on any ships they bring into Earth orbit, Ji-won ordered. 3 days later, Ji-won stood with a group of world leaders and scientists at the United Nations building in New York. The room buzzed with nervous energy as everyone waited for the aliens to arrive. They're entering Earth's atmosphere now, a technician announced. On the large screen at the front of the room, they watched as a sleek, silver ship descended toward the landing pad outside. The ship was like nothing humans had built before. No visible engines, no wings, just a smooth oval shape that moved like it was weightless. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Yuna, the neurologist standing next to Ji-won. Ji-won nodded but said nothing. He was too busy studying the ship for any signs of weapons. The ship landed without making a sound. A moment later, a door slid open and 5 figures stepped out. They wore deep purple uniforms with shiny badges that caught the sunlight. The tallest, alien, clearly the leader, walked with confidence toward the building. The Earth representatives moved to the entrance hall to greet them. "Welcome to Earth," said the Secretary General of the United Nations, stepping forward with an outstretched hand. The alien leader looked at the hand for a moment, then copied the gesture. "I am Grand Admiral Do-hyun of the Dorai Empire. We are pleased to make your acquaintance." Ji-won noticed that the alien spoke perfect English without any translation device visible. That was the first strange thing. The second strange thing was the name. Do-hyun was a Korean name. How did an alien from another star system have a Korean name? The Earth delegation led the visitors into the main conference room. As they walked, Ji-won studied the aliens carefully. Besides their leader, there was a female who carried what looked like scientific equipment, 2 males who seemed to be guards, and another male who kept checking something on a small device in his hand. Once everyone was seated, the meeting began. "People of Earth," Admiral Do-hyun said, standing to address the room. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for your species. The Dorai Empire spans 17 star systems and includes 12 different intelligent species living in harmony. As the Admiral spoke, the female alien quietly set up a small device on the table. It looked innocent enough, just a metal box with a few lights, but Ji-won kept his eyes on it. "We offer Earth membership in our empire," Do-hyun continued. "Under our guidance, you will gain access to technologies beyond your imagination. Space, travel between stars, medical advances that extend life, energy sources that will end your dependence on fossil fuels." It all sounded wonderful. Too wonderful. Ji-won glanced around the room and saw the Earth leaders nodding along, looking impressed, but something felt wrong. Then he noticed Dr. Yuna staring at the small device with narrow eyes. She took out her phone and discreetly ran some kind of scan. Her eyes widened. She leaned over to whisper in Ji-won's ear. "That device is emitting some kind of wave. Not radio, not microwave. Something I've never seen before." Ji-won felt a chill run down his spine. Why would the aliens bring an unknown device to their first meeting? As Admiral Do-hyun continued his speech about the benefits of joining the Dorai Empire, Ji-won watched the alien woman adjust settings on the device. The lights on it began to pulse faster. Around the room, the Earth leaders seemed to be growing, more relaxed. Several were smiling widely. The U.S. president, who had been known for his tough questions, was now nodding happily at everything the Admiral said. But Ji-won felt nothing unusual. Neither did Dr. Yuna, based on her concerned expression. "Is something wrong?" Ji-won whispered to her. "I'm not sure," she replied quietly. "But I think they're trying to influence everyone somehow. The brain scans I'm picking up show unusual activity in the decision-making areas of people's brains. Except for ours." Ji-won looked back at the aliens. The one with the small hand device was frowning now, tapping on his screen and looking confused. He leaned over to whisper something to Admiral Do-hyun, whose smooth speech faltered for just a moment. "And so," the Admiral continued, his black eyes scanning the room more intently now, "we propose a treaty of friendship between Earth and the Dorai Empire, a simple agreement that will benefit all." The Secretary General stood up, smiling broadly. "This sounds wonderful. I believe I speak for all Earth's nations when I say we are eager to sign such a treaty immediately." Several other leaders nodded too quickly, too eagerly. Ji-won stood up. "I suggest we take some time to consider this proposal carefully. First contact between civilizations is a historic moment that shouldn't be rushed." Admiral Do-hyun's eyes locked onto Ji-won's. For a brief moment, his friendly expression slipped, revealing something cold underneath. Of course, the Admiral said smoothly. We understand the need for careful consideration. We will provide you with the treaty details and return tomorrow for your answer. As the meeting broke up, Ji-won noticed the alien woman quickly packing up her device. She looked frustrated. Once the aliens had left, most of the Earth leaders seemed to snap out of their unusual eagerness. They looked confused, as if waking from a dream. What just happened? The Secretary General asked, rubbing his forehead. Doctor, Yuna approached him. Sir, I need to speak with you urgently. I believe the aliens just attempted to use some kind of mind control technology on us. Mind control? That's ridiculous, he replied. But he didn't sound completely convinced. Ji-won looked out the window where the alien ship was taking off. I don't think they're as friendly as they claim, he said. And I think we may have just discovered their secret. The question is, what do we do now? Grand Admiral Do-hyun stood on the main deck of the Eternal Dominance, the biggest ship in the Dorai fleet. Through the large window he watched the blue-green planet below. It was the 5th world the Dorai had taken this year alone. Do-hyun felt nothing as he observed another civilization fall under his control. This was just business as usual. Another successful conquest, Admiral, said Commander Sun as he approached. His uniform was spotless, and he stood very straight with his hands behind his back. Do-hyun nodded. The subjugator worked perfectly as always. The Neuro-Wave subjugator was the pride of the Dorai Empire. It was not a traditional weapon that destroyed cities or killed people. It was much more clever than that. The device sent special waves that affected the brains of any intelligent species. These waves made the victims follow orders while still feeling like they were making their own choices. The conquered people never even knew they were being controlled. The local leaders will sign the treaty in 1 hour, Sun said, checking his data pad. They believe it is a peace agreement. Do-hyun smiled. And so it is. They give us peace by giving us everything we want. For nearly 100 years, the Dorai Empire had used this method to take over 17 star systems without firing a single shot. No species had ever detected the mind control. No species had ever resisted it. The Admiral walked to his private command station, where a 3D map showed all the Dorai territories glowing in bright purple. Each dot represented billions of beings who now work to make the Empire stronger. Chief Scientist Min is waiting to speak with you, Sun said. Do-hyun nodded, and a moment later, a woman in a white lab coat appeared on his screen. Min had dark circles under her eyes, but she was smiling. Admiral, we have completed our analysis of the next target system, she said. The main planet is called Earth, and the dominant species calls themselves humans. Tell me about them, Do-hyun said, leaning forward slightly. Min tapped on her tablet, bringing up images of the blue planet with white clouds swirling across its surface. They have achieved space travel, but only within their own solar system. They have colonies on their moon and on the red planet they call Mars. Their technology is promising, but at least 50 years behind ours. Military capabilities, nuclear weapons, but nothing that could threaten our ships. They have never faced an alien species before. We will be their first contact. Do-hyun raised an eyebrow. First contact? That makes things simpler. They will be eager to meet us then. Yes, Admiral. Our scans show they have been sending out radio signals hoping to find intelligent life for over a century. Do-hyun laughed. And they will find it. How unfortunate for them. Commander Sun joined the conversation. Should we prepare the usual first contact protocol? Yes, Do-hyun said. We will approach peacefully. Send the welcome message. Request a meeting with their world leaders. He paused, thinking. What about the subjugator? Will it work on human brains? Min nodded confidently. We have studied their brain patterns from long-range scans. The subjugator should work even better on humans than it did on the Zentari. Their brains have strong emotional centers that will make them easy to influence. Excellent, Do-hyun said. Then prepare the fleet. We depart for Earth once the treaty ceremony is complete. Later that day, Do-hyun watched as the leaders of the planet Zentaria signed the treaty that gave the Dorai Empire control of their world. The alien leaders had blue skin and 4 arms each. They smiled as they signed away their freedom, completely unaware that they were being controlled. "With the resources from this world, we will be even stronger when we reach Earth," Lieutenant Jin said as he stood beside the Admiral. "Yes," Do-hyun agreed. "The humans will never know what hit them." After the ceremony, Do-hyun returned to his private chamber. On the wall hung a map showing all the conquered worlds of the Dorai Empire. Soon, Earth would be just another dot on that map. The Admiral sat at his desk and opened a file containing all the information they had gathered about humans. He studied their politics, their wars, their art. Something about them seemed different from the other species the Dorai had conquered, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. "Computer, show me more images of human brain activity," he commanded. The screen filled with colorful patterns showing human thoughts and emotions. Do-hyun was not a scientist, but even he could see that human brains were busy, chaotic things. They seemed to think in strange ways, following patterns that didn't always make logical sense. He closed the file and stood up. It didn't matter how humans thought. The subjugator would work on them just as it had worked on every other species. 3 days later, the Dorai fleet jumped through space toward the Sol system. 5 massive warships, each carrying thousands of soldiers, scientists, and administrators ready to take control of a new world. Do-hyun stood on the bridge as they arrived, at the edge of the human solar system. "Keep us beyond their detection range," he ordered. "I want to observe them for a few days before we make contact." The fleet settled into position behind the gas giant humans called Neptune, hidden from Earth's telescopes and radar. "Begin full scans of the planet," Do-hyun ordered. "I want to know everything about them before we introduce ourselves." For the next week, the Dorai studied Earth. They watched human television broadcasts, listened to their radio, and monitored their internet. They learned about human cultures, languages, and behaviors. Do-hyun found humans fascinating. They were so divided, with hundreds of different countries and languages, yet they had managed to progress technologically despite these divisions. They fought wars against each other constantly, but still dreamed of peaceful contact with aliens. "They are perfect," he told his officers during a meeting. "Their divisions make them weak. The subjugator will find easy paths into their minds through their fears and desires." On the 8th day, Do-hyun gave the order. "Prepare for first contact. Send the greeting message to all Earth communication channels." The message was simple. "People of Earth, you are not alone. We come in peace from the Dorai Empire, a community of 17 star systems. We wish to meet with your leaders to establish friendly relations." Then they waited for Earth's response. It came quickly. The humans were excited, just as Do-hyun had predicted. They welcomed the Dorai and agreed to a meeting at their United Nations headquarters. "Prepare my shuttle," Do-hyun told Commander Sun. "I will lead this mission myself." As he walked to the shuttle bay, Do-hyun felt a rare moment of doubt. Something about the human's brain pattern still bothered him, but he pushed the feeling aside. No species had ever resisted the subjugator. Humans would be no different. How wrong he was. Grand Admiral Do-hyun stood before Earth's leaders in the Grand UN conference room. His perfect uniform and confident smile hid his inner worry. Today would decide everything. Either Earth would join the Dorai Empire, or he would face his first failure in a century-long career. "Distinguished leaders of Earth," he began, his voice smooth and commanding. "Yesterday we discussed the many benefits of joining the Dorai Empire. Today, we bring you the treaty." Behind him, Chief Scientist Min had set up an enhanced version of the subjugator. It looked bigger than before, with more lights and a soft, humming sound. Min nodded to the Admiral, indicating it was ready. "Before we sign," Do-hyun continued, "I would like to address any questions you might have." The Secretary General smiled widely, too widely. His eyes had a slightly unfocused look. "I believe we are all eager to sign, Admiral. Your generous offer is more than we could have hoped for." Several other world leaders nodded in agreement, their expressions similarly vacant. Do-hyun allowed himself to relax slightly. The enhanced subjugator was working on most of them. But he noticed a few leaders who still looked uncertain, their brows furrowed in confusion as they glanced at their oddly agreeable colleagues. "Excellent," the Admiral said. "Then if you would please review the treaty." The door at the back of the conference room burst open. A group of security guards rushed in, but they moved strangely as if fighting against their own bodies. Behind them came Jiwan, holding one of the Dorai weapons. "This meeting is over," Jiwan announced. His face was bruised and his uniform was torn, but his eyes were clear and determined. Do-hyun's smile vanished. "Captain Jiwan, how disappointing to see you disrupting this historic moment." "Historic?" "Yes," Jiwan agreed, moving into the room while keeping the weapon trained on the Dorai. "But not the way you planned." The security guards moved to the sides of the room looking confused. One of them pressed a hand to his ear, where a small device was attached. Jiwan had a similar device in his ear. Do-hyun recognized what they were, some kind of shield against the subjugator. His eyes narrowed as he turned to Min, silently ordering her to increase the power. Min nodded and adjusted the controls. The humming from the device grew louder, and several of the world leaders winced, pressing their hands to their temples. "You see, Captain," Do-hyun said calmly, "your resistance is meaningless. Your leaders are already ours." "Not for long," came a voice from another doorway. Dr. Yuna entered, followed by her team carrying a large device. It resembled the Dorai subjugator, but with obvious human modifications. They quickly set it up on the opposite side of the room. "What is this?" Do-hyun demanded, a hint of uncertainty in his voice for the first time. Yuna met his gaze steadily. "This is humanity's answer to your mind control, Admiral." She flipped a switch and her device began to emit a countering hum. The two sounds, Dorai and human, created a strange beating pattern in the air. Several of the world leaders shook their heads as if waking from a dream. "Impossible," Min whispered, staring at her readings. "They've created a counter-signal." Do-hyun's face darkened with anger. "Increase power to maximum!" "Sir, that could cause brain damage. Do it now!" Min reluctantly turned the dial all the way up. The subjugator's humming became painful to hear. Several human leaders cried out, clutching their heads. But others, those wearing the ear devices Jiwan had distributed, remained clear-eyed and alert. Yuna quickly adjusted her device in response. The counter-signal strengthened, creating a visible wave pattern in the air between the two machines. "You cannot match our technology," Do-hyun snarled. "The Dorai Empire has conquered 17 star systems with the subjugator. Your primitive copy cannot hope to compete." "It's not a copy," Yuna replied calmly. "It's something new." She pressed another button on her device. The counter-signal changed, becoming more complex. The wave pattern shifted, and suddenly the Dorai officers staggered. Min fell to her knees, her hands over her ears. The other Dorai assistants looked dizzy and confused. Only Do-hyun remained standing, though his purple face had paled considerably. What have you done?" Jiwan stepped forward. "Dr. Yuna didn't just block your signal, she reversed it. How does it feel, Admiral, to have someone else in your head for a change?" Do-hyun's black eyes widened in shock. For the first time in his life, he felt what his victims had felt, the pressure of another will trying to control his thoughts. He fought against it, his face contorting with effort. "This is not possible," he gasped. "Dorai minds are too complex to be controlled." "Just like you thought human minds would be easy to control?" Yuna asked. "Your arrogance blinded you, Admiral. You never considered that other species might be able to resist or even turn your technology against you." Around the room, the Earth leaders had fully recovered from the subjugator's influence. They watched in amazement as the mighty Dorai officers struggled against Yuna's reverse-engineered control signal. The Secretary General stood up, his expression now clear and angry. "Admiral Do-hyun, in light of your attempted mind control of Earth's leadership, we must ask you to leave our planet immediately." Do-hyun managed to straighten up, fighting through the mental pressure. "You do not understand what you're doing. The Dorai Empire will not tolerate this resistance. We will return with our fleet and destroy your world." Jiwan stepped closer, his weapon still trained on the Admiral. "No, you won't, because we're sending a message to all those 17 star systems you conquered. We're telling them about your mind control technology and how to block it. How long do you think your empire will last once everyone knows they've been controlled against their will? Fear flashed across Do-hyun's face. You cannot reach them. Your communication technology is primitive, but yours isn't, Ji-won smiled. While you were busy trying to take over our leaders, some of our team boarded your shuttle. They're quite interested in your communication system. This was a bluff. They hadn't actually managed to board the Dorai shuttle, but Do-hyun didn't. Know that? The Admiral's composure finally cracked. This is not over, he hissed. Men, gather our equipment, we're leaving. The Dorai scientists struggled to their feet, but when they tried to take the subjugator, Ji-won shook his head. That stays here. Consider it cultural exchange. For a moment it seemed like Do-hyun might attack, but a look around the room showed him how outnumbered they were. With a final glare of hatred, he gestured to his team and they moved toward the exit. You've made an enemy today, he said over his shoulder. No, Ji-won replied. We've freed ourselves from a would-be conqueror. There's a difference. After the Dorai had left, escorted by security guards wearing Yuna's protective ear devices, the room erupted in questions. World leaders crowded around Ji-won and Yuna, demanding explanations. What just happened? Were they really controlling our minds? How did you create that counter device so quickly? Ji-won raised his hands for quiet. It's a long story, but yes, the Dorai were using advanced technology to influence your thoughts, and Dr. Yuna here figured out how to block it and turn it back on them. Yuna stepped forward. More importantly, we've learned something crucial. Humanity has a unique resistance to this kind of control. At least some of us do. It seems that growing up near Earth's natural electromagnetic fields can create a natural immunity. What happens now? The Secretary General asked. Will they return with weapons? Ji-won and Yuna exchanged glances. They might, Ji-won admitted, but now we know their weakness, and we have their technology to study. Plus, Yuna added, I don't think Admiral Do-hyun will be eager to report his failure to his superiors. It sounds like failure isn't well tolerated in the Dorai Empire. As the meeting broke up and plans were made for Earth's defense, Ji-won took Yuna aside. You know this isn't over, he said quietly. She nodded. I know. But for the first time in their history, the Dorai Empire met someone they couldn't control. That's going to change everything, not just for us, but for all those other worlds they conquered. Ji-won looked up at the ceiling, imagining the stars beyond. I think we just took humanity's first real step into the galaxy, and we did it by being what we've always been, stubbornly, uniquely human. Yuna smiled. Let's hope that's enough for whatever comes next. Grand Admiral Do-hyun paced the command deck of the Eternal Dominance. His normally calm face showed clear signs of worry. This had never happened before. Never in the history of the Dorai Empire had the subjugator failed. Explain this to me. Again, he demanded. Chief Scientist Min looked nervous as she adjusted her screens. The subjugator was working at full power, Admiral. By all measures, it should have made the humans completely open to our suggestions, but only about 70% of them showed the expected response. 70%? Do-hyun stopped pacing. What about the other 30%? No effect at all. It's as if they couldn't even hear the signals. Min pointed to brain scan images on her screen. Look here, these are normal subjugator effects on the Zentari species we just conquered. The screen showed bright red areas lighting up across an alien brain, and here are the human brain responses. The screen split to show multiple human brain scans. Some looked similar to the Zentari brain, with the same red areas active, but others showed no change at all. I don't understand, Do-hyun said. How can some be affected and others not? We're still trying to figure that out, sir. It seems to be some kind of natural immunity in part of their population. Commander Sun joined them, his face serious. Admiral, this complicates our mission significantly. If 30% of humans can resist the subjugator, we cannot guarantee a peaceful takeover. Do-hyun's black eyes narrowed. Then we must change our approach. Who were the ones who seemed immune? Did you identify them? Min nodded. There were two who definitely showed resistance, a military officer named Jiwon and a scientist named Yuna. We've begun researching their backgrounds. Good. Perhaps there is something unique about them that we can use. Do-hyun turned to look out at the blue planet below. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain. The subjugator had always worked. It was the foundation of the Dorai Empire's success. Without it, they would have to use traditional warfare, which was messy and destructive. Double the power for tomorrow's meeting, he ordered. And target those two specifically. I want them under our control before they can raise alarms. Back on Earth, Dr. Yuna had not slept all night. She had been analyzing the data from her brain scans during the alien meeting. Her small lab at the United Nations building was cluttered, with equipment and empty coffee cups. Captain Jiwon entered, looking as tired as she felt. Any progress? Yuna pushed her long black hair away from her face and nodded. I think I've figured out what they were trying to do. She pointed to a screen, showing brainwave patterns. See these unusual patterns? They match exactly with the signals that device was putting out. They were trying to stimulate these specific areas of the brain, areas involved in trust and decision-making. Mind control, Jiwon said simply. Essentially, yes. Yuna stood up and stretched her stiff back. The strange thing is, it seemed to work on most people in that room. The Secretary General, the U.S. President, they were all showing these unusual brain patterns. But not us, Jiwon noted. No, not us. And I've been trying to figure out why. She pulled up another screen. I think I might have found something. Look at these. The screen showed medical records. Jiwon looked confused. What am I looking at? Our medical histories. Mine and yours. Yuna pointed to specific sections. We both have something unusual in common. We both grew up in areas with extremely high natural electromagnetic fields. I grew up near Yangbajing, Jiwon said, near the geothermal power plant. And I grew up in Jeju, near the volcanic activity zones, Yuna added. Both areas have some of the strongest natural electromagnetic fields on Earth. Jiwon began to understand. You think that affected our brains somehow, made us immune? It's just a theory, but yes. I think our brains developed natural defenses against certain types of electromagnetic interference. Yuna looked excited now, despite her exhaustion. And I think that's what the alien device uses, a specific form of electromagnetic wave that affects brain function. Jiwon sat down heavily in a chair. So these Dorai aliens aren't friendly at all. They're trying to control us. I believe so, Yuna said, and based on how confident they were, I'm guessing this technique has worked for them before. Many times. We need to warn everyone, Jiwon said, standing up quickly. That's the problem. Who do we warn? Most of the world leaders were affected yesterday. If we tell them, the aliens might just increase the power of their device and make them forget our warning. Jiwon thought for a moment. Then we need to find more people like us. People who might be immune. I've been working on that too, Yuna said, pulling up a world map on her screen. These are areas with unusually high electromagnetic activity. If I'm right, people who grew up in these regions might have the same immunity we do. The map showed glowing spots in parts of Korea, Japan, Iceland, parts of the United States, and several other locations around the world. We need to contact these people immediately, Jiwon said, before the Dorai come back. As dawn broke over New York, Jiwon and Yuna had assembled a small group of 20 people who had grown up in high electromagnetic field areas. They met in a basement room that Yuna had carefully shielded with materials that blocked electromagnetic signals. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Jiwon said to the group. I know our message sounded strange, but we're facing a situation unlike anything humanity has ever encountered. A woman raised her hand. You said this is about the aliens, the Dorai? Yes, Jiwon nodded. We believe they are using a technology that can control people's minds. And we also believe that people who grew up in areas with high electromagnetic fields might be immune. There were doubtful looks and whispers among the group. I know it. Sounds crazy, Yuna added. But we have brain scans that show unusual activity in people exposed to the Dori device, activity that wasn't present in people like us. So what's your plan? Asked a man at the back of the room. The aliens are meeting with world leaders again in 3 hours. G1 looked at each person in the room. First, we need to confirm our theory. Una has built a device that mimics the signals we detected from the alien technology. We need to test each of you to see if you're truly immune. Una held up a small box similar to the one the Dori had used. This is much weaker than their device, but it should be enough to test for immunity. One by one, they tested each person. 17 out of the 20 showed no response to the signals. They were immune, just like G1 and Una. Now we have a team, G1 said. But we still need a plan to stop the Dori before they take control of Earth's leaders. Una looked at her device thoughtfully. I might have an idea. If we understand how their technology works, maybe we can block it. Or even better. She looked up at the group with determination in her eyes. Maybe we can turn it against them.